from Session 5.
The three-dimensional world has locations.
Mm-hmm.
Does the spirit world have locations?
In your way of thinking, yeah, but...
In your way of thinking, does it?
No.
Explain, please.
Locations? No locations. How else can I... Okay, you and your three-dimensional mind. There's teaching going on, there's learning going on, there's exploring going on, there's observing going on. There's always something. And basically, well, not everybody. Okay, all right, I get it. Not most beings who have recently left the physical world still think in those terms. So yeah, they go to this place for class to learn, or they go with their mentor to observe, to remember, and go through their lives, past life, physical life. And so they feel like they're traveling from place to place. But that really isn't necessary to literally travel from place to place. If you get my drift.
I get your drift.
And they eventually come to that point where everyone else just connects or disconnects. And most of the splinters, as you call them, are always connected. In some way, shape, or form. But in order to connect with someone not of this higher entity, they merely have to, let's say, think, although they don't think with the brain, they think with their being, of another being they want to connect with, and it happens.
How do I identify the other being?
You know that.
I may know that, but I don't know if I'm right. So I'd like to hear it from you.
Through their energies.
So in the ether world,
Okay.
I just call it that because that's what
It's as good
as anything.
as anything else, yeah.
Since there are no locations and there's not any 3D, do you guys have the ability to create a 3D in your own mind, so to speak, within your own essence to
Sure.
explain something, if that's what's required?
Yeah. I know where you're going with that, but yeah. But you know that such creativity is going on constantly anyway.
Yes, I know. I'm just thinking about a new arrival wanting to go to a specific place. Is it that new arrival creates that specific place? Or is it the person who's guiding him along creates it, or is it both?
It's a combination of both, because that new arrival, as you say, is still steeped in 3D. And just thinks about where they want to go, and that begins the creation. Their emotion pushes it along, their mentor, if you will, helps finish it so that they are more comfortable. The individual is more comfortable. You know, until they learn that that's unnecessary. And then it's like, wow, I can fly here and there. Yeah, they'll figure it out.
Without a 3D world, there's no here or there.
Yeah, but whenever they think about it, they'll still think here and there because the concept will be new to them. So is the concept of flying, but that's how they will think of it in their own essence, their own being, is that they are flying here and there. And then the light bulb comes on. Oh, there is no here and there, it's everywhere. And everywhere is all one point. And I'm already at that point. So just, then they start to pick up, oh, so I'm already there. Okay. Makes sense.
Yes, but also poses a bunch of other questions for me, or for you. You mentioned the point of everything's a point, which I understand. A point has position but no space, no size. By definition, on this 3D world in Euclidean geometry. So, is it the entities who... I answered that question myself, so never mind.
Getting better.
Can a entity or someone just crossed over spread themselves so thin they disappear?
How would they spread themselves thin?
Make themselves as large as the universe. Cover an area the size of the universe, or isn't there a universe in your world?
Oh, there is one, but it's not a physical one.
Yeah.
And therefore, they can spread themselves all over it because they're already part of all that is, and so they know it.
Yeah, I answered. Okay.
Yeah,
I got the answer. Thank you.
Yeah, so they can't disappear because they'll never disappear.
Okay, because that's what I was leading up to is, can we get our energies up there? Can you look in on other people who have crossed over and report on what they're doing? Is that something that within your abilities? For example, can you look in on see what he's up to? Or not?
I can do that. I can connect. Oh yeah, he's just soaking it all in. He's loving it.
So when you connect, what happens?
Well, we basically greet each other. And I just used the word mentor. It could be any one in your way of thinking. It isn't always the same being.
It's whoever we need at that time to guide us. Yes.
Right.
Just like Bashar talks about.
Yeah. And he meaning is very excited about what he's learning because some of it he already knew a little bit, some of it he suspected, or other stuff he expected, and then there's things that he did expect that didn't happen, and he was like, oh, wow. He's just, wow.
Any specifics you can share, or he can share?
Not at this time.
Okay.
I thought about it, but he actually would rather not.
Okay. I understand that.
He's too busy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. How about can you connect with him and see how he's doing?
He's still a bit overwhelmed.
Oh, confused.
And confused. So we won't go into any of that.
Okay. Let's say hi to him for us.
He's like, what? Who? What?
He says hi.
Okay. He was just surprised that it could happen.
What could happen?
That he could get such a message from you sitting here. But he's glad of it. He does say that he's feeling much better.
Good. Glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Of course, without any body, he would feel much better.
Yeah.
The body was just disintegrating around him.
If you want to call it that.
Yeah, that's what I call it. Okay.
And you're, just to let you know, because you will ask about,
Yes.
and he likewise is, he's not as interested in communication.
He never was.
Well, this is true. But he is very appreciative of what he has learned so far. He's learned a lot. And again, it was a lot of what he suspected but wasn't sure of. And now, I guess he feels gratified.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything he would like to share at this time?
Nope.
Mother says hi.
There was a smile
Okay.
about that.
Good.
And a shake of the head if he had a head.
Well, the energy can move in that direction.
Right. And the emotion behind it. Not
Right.
that it was so strong in any direction, let's say positive or negative. It was just an acknowledgement and oh yeah.
I do have one question for David, if you can answer. Where's his body located?
Oh, he is something else. In the ground where it belongs. But not necessarily buried. Nobody came along and put him in a coffin and buried him. But back to nature, he says that would be a better way of putting it.
Yes, that sounds more like him because he was always into nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, was it in the area?
Pretty much.
In the mountains in the area?
Not in the mountains. He was getting to where he couldn't do that kind of hiking anymore.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And no, he said, no, don't be sorry. It is what it is. And I'm fine. I guess he is communicating.
Yeah.
Just
Is it possible to him give us an idea so we can recover his body or his remains to give closure to Mother?
he doesn't want that.
Okay.
She'll get closure when she comes to join him.
Yes, I understand that. Okay. I was just curious. Mm-hmm. So is he in a vehicle or did he?
No, apparently not. But he's also figuring that how could he explain to you where he is? It's a vast desert.
Mm-hmm.
And his body just went back to nature like it's supposed to.
Okay.
So someday somebody might dig up a couple of ribs or something, but basically he's saying just don't bother, it's not worth the effort. And how in heaven's name, without him giving, coordinates, and then you have a GPS and you follow those coordinates, and you can't even use a GPS because when you had one, you couldn't figure it out. And this is coming from him, by the way.
Okay.
And so don't worry about it. People put too much, and this isn't just him, but it's coming from me as well, that people put too much emphasis on the remains.
Who's the me coming from?
Thane.
Okay. Want to make sure it was Thane and not Sarah speaking.
Well, she agrees, she said,
Of course.
after all of this.
She and I have had this discussion many times. She tells me the same thing.
That's why you thought it was from her. But
Yeah.
no, it's a good cultural thing to have respect for the dead.
Yes.
And a lot of the ceremonies and things that go along with that are good for the survivors and the cultures that whatever they do. But to get freaked out, that's her, pulled that out of her brain. By, let's say
Excuse me.
you're looking in a cemetery and you're trying not to step on someone's grave. What difference does it make?
They're not there anymore.
They're not there, and they're in the process of trying to get back to nature.
Yeah, but it's kind of hard inside a lead box.
Yeah, if it's lead or even wooden, the way they're so treated, and the bodies are embalmed and everything, and it takes way longer than it should. But eventually, all will get back to nature.
Okay. So was he happy near the end?
As happy as he could ever be.
Okay. How did he die? Does he wish to share that? He doesn't have to if he doesn't want to. We all have secrets.
He decided it was his time to go. He was in pain and it was getting worse.
Was that from his injuries, his accident?
Right, for the most part. And because of that and drug use his body was not doing well. So, you see.
Okay.
And he just went out into the desert and laid down and died.
Kind of fell into sleep? I mean, died in his sleep kind of thing?
Kind of, sort of. He was actually more in a deep meditation that he didn't even know he was in.
And he just
And he
crossed
slipped,
over.
slipped
out.
away, as
Good.
it's
Very
what
good.
sometimes.
I'm glad to hear that.
So it was a good thing.
Thank you for sharing, Dave.
He's like, okay, now leave me alone.
Yes, I will. That's all I really needed. Thank you. Thank you very much. How about, is she around?
Oh, no, she's very busy. Not really that much connected with the family.
Right. Okay.
To the point where she peeps in or is curious even.
Okay.
She's doing her own
Thing.
okay, yeah.
Okay.
But there's always learning and exploring to do.
What type of exploring?
Other planets. That's the word you folks use.
But that's a 3-dimension.
Well, yeah, just because we are non-corporeal doesn't mean that we're not curious. And so we look and what's that place like?
Oh.
And of course, saying planets doesn't necessarily mean your solar system.
From session 6.
When someone living in this 3D world believes they're going to go to hell, which is a bad place when they die, and they actually die, what happens to them?
Spiritually, you mean?
Yes.
Depends a lot on the individual, but basically they're met by someone who, of course this happens to everyone, who discusses their life choices, their entire life is laid out in front of them.
When you say discuss it, it means you talk back and forth and question and answer type of format?
Well, that's normally what discussion means.
Well, yeah, but there's also a lecture can be considered a discussion.
No.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
Discussion requires at least two beings
Okay.
or more. A lecture is one being imparting information to anywhere from 1 to 1,000,000 others. 1,000,000 is just guesswork, but you
Yeah,
know what
it's
I
a
mean.
number.
A multitude of others. Oh, I get it now. You want to know whether they go to heaven or hell and how that plays out
Yes.
in the afterlife,
Yes.
as you call it. But if they believe strongly that they're going to hell, then they will meet with an experience whatever it is they believe hell is. And the reverse is true. Someone believes they're going to heaven, they will meet and experience what they believe heaven is or could be. But as you know, there is no such either
Yes.
specifically.
Yes, I know that.
Eventually, through mentoring, shall we call it, they come around to realize what the truth is. Oh, that word causes more trouble than it's worth.
Yep. Truth is very biased.
It is. One person's truth is not necessarily another person's truth.
Yep.
However,
That's a big problem.
yeah, and that's the point of the, for lack of a better word, the mentors that meet a spirit when the body has been cast off. These mentors, and that is why a person's life passes before them. Because, of course, since there's no time, it happens in the blink of an eye. And
That
hence,
answered a question I didn't even ask. Thank you.
and hence, the discussion is about what do they regret? What are they proud of? What do they think was good on their part to say or do or whatever? And what they think was not so good. And then as they come to see that it's all experience, good or bad. Even bad is a relative term because no one is bad. No one is bad.
Just different degrees of truth.
Different degrees of behaviors, too.
Okay.
Some of which are not acceptable or not as acceptable as things that are considered good. But it also depends on that person's background. I'm thinking now of all the different religions that you have, on planet Earth. And one person's religion might tell them that they'll go to hell if they do this and not do that, or if they do that, they shouldn't, and blah, blah, blah. And then they find out in the afterlife that another person's religion says that's just fine, it's okay, it's no big deal. But this is what you shouldn't do. This is bad. But then you go to another person and they say, well, you're both wrong. Neither of those things is bad. This is bad over here. What do you think causes all the conflict in the planet?
Yep.
So, yeah.
Variations of the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, have you been a mentor to someone that just crossed over?
I have been.
I thought so by the way you were talking.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been for both? Ones who thought they're going to hell and ones who thought they were going to heaven?
Yeah, both.
So,
and all the variations in between.
So on the ones that you thought were going to hell, how did you treat that? How did you have that discussion? How did you help them to understand that doesn't really exist?
Well, first of all, it's the same for all beings who pass over and are not ready to immediately move on. There are those who are, and they're like, hi, let's go.
Oh, you startled the cat.
Poor
He's
kitty.
staring at you. No, he was.
He doesn't care. He'll go back to sleep.
Mm-hmm. He's keeping an eye on you.
The much patience is required when dealing with someone who is so fixated on the fire and brimstone of hell and eternal torment and all that.
You mean the mentor has to have great patience?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's why we keep reviewing their life choices and ask why they believe this, why they feel that way. And think about it, was what you're talking about really wrong? Or blah, blah, blah. You're just gentle with them.
So basically what you're attempting to do is help them to accept themselves. Is that correct?
Well, that's part of it. Everyone
Okay.
must eventually accept themselves for who they are in this plane of existence,
Right.
on this earth. But many are eager to move on,
Yes.
and they don't have to hash it all out. Now, there might still be some minor discussions and, oh yeah, I could have handled that better, or I learned that was not necessary. That was when I was much younger physically. And with time, I learned it's not that way. And then we can keep on moving through that and digging deeper into what that person is thinking and
So you drill down through the belief system to determine whether or not, to help them understand why they made their decisions and help them to understand whether or not the decision is an acceptable one or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And acceptable by whose standards?
All that is. Which is the standard of everyone who was in that spiritual realm, let's say. Because remember, we're all part of all that is, and all that is part of us, and we're all pretty much on the same page when it comes to that.
I'm just using this person As an example, I do not want to know details. For example, when Hitler died, who was a truly evil person, did he eventually accept his mistakes?
First of all, no one is truly evil. They perform evil acts, perhaps, and even say evil things and support evil ideas. The people are not evil.
This concept of them being evil and going to hell because of that, part of our belief structure here in our world because of our history?
Yeah. That's it exactly. But to finish answering your question.
Which one? I've asked 3 or 4 already.
The one about Hitler.
Okay.
This will possibly astonish many people who hear me say this, and even might evoke strong emotions about it. But hey, if the likes of Hitler can come around and realize his mistakes, realize why he made those mistakes, realize his belief systems that were false and that led him astray, and then his pride got in the way. So if someone like him can come around to the point where he's excited to meet his higher self, he's excited to meet spirit guides and guardian angels and angels in general, and realize that energy is the basis of everything. And when you put energy and negative thoughts or evil thoughts together, and remember what we've said about thoughts plus energy equals creation.
Yes.
So whether it's in this realm or some other realm, but not the spirit world, evil things can be created. Well, things that can be taken to be evil, evil thoughts, and people can be led astray by those things here and elsewhere.
Okay.
So yeah, but even, oh, that's a good one. Jack the Ripper.
Yes, another one.
Yeah. And there are plenty. Anyone who takes the...
When you say plenty, what do you mean?
Plenty of people who have made wrong choices, bad choices, evil choices.
Okay. I understand what you're referring to now.
Okay, and they can all come around. With proper guidance, they eventually understand. And when they do, they can move on to higher things, shall we say. And of course, I'm saying eventually, which implies linear time.
Yeah, but there is no linear time.
No, there isn't.
Yeah.
So that's a fun thing for you when your body gives up the ghost. Ooh, I've been wanting to say that for a long time. And you realize just how minute the blink of an eye is, or that there is no time and everything happens at once, and even less than the blink of an eye, because eyes are kind of slow.
Yeah, they are.
And and it happens. And when we say that people move on and they experience other things, and they
Yes.
explore and what's the word I'm looking for? Experience, explore, experiment. Did I say that?
No, you did not.
Okay. But it still happens in the blink of an eye. So you'd think, okay, a person dies and their spirit, boing, is already, wow, fini. And no. So it's a little tricky to try to explain how things can happen that quickly, and yet a soul still needs to learn and grow and do all those things. It's hard to wrap the physical mind around that.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Oh.
So, someone who knows what to expect
And understands what is going to happen when they cross over. They just have a very quick review? Or is it also slow?
Quick is relative.
I know it is.
Slow is relative.
There is no time. I
Right.
know that.
Right.
So I
So
still
there-
have to use time to explain things.
There still is a review
Okay.
and some discussion if it's deemed necessary or the person wants it, the soul wants it.
So let's talk about Mother Teresa a little bit if we can. When she crossed over, someone was there to guide her. Mm-hmm. Probably someone far high in the chain, so to speak, or maybe not. Did she need much guidance? Or did she pretty much understand when she left her body what she had done and why she had done what she did?
She was pretty self-knowledgeable. There was still a review.
Right.
And let me put it this way. The spirits who guided her in life were the same ones who met her and,
Oh,
I mean, they've been guiding her all her life.
yeah.
And that's one reason she was so loving and accepting and very pleased when it was her time to go out of this, from this physical world to the next. She was excited to meet them face to face, so to speak,
I know what you mean.
energy to energy. And she recognized their energies. She was already
Cool.
that developed.
Excellent. So you can say the answer to this, yes or no.
Yes or no.
Did she have another three-dimensional experience after that?
To my knowledge, she has not yet chosen
I didn't think she
that
would.
path.
Because she probably learned all she wanted to learn.
Oh,
Here.
but there's always more to learn, but there's always other places to learn it, not
Yes.
necessarily a physical one.
Yeah.
from session 8.
Okay.
We on Earth have ambitions and desires. To you folks?
I don't think we call them ambitions, but desires, yes. Desires to explore, to experience, to learn, and to teach. Those are desires, yeah.
Okay, that's good.
And to laugh.
Yeah, laughing is always fun.
Yep.
Is everyone in your realm that way? Are there others in your realm that might be ambitious? Overly so?
No, by the time a being's frequency reaches a certain high level, ambition no longer is attractive.
Ah, okay.
It's not necessary, because we all know that whatever our goals are, we can achieve them, because time doesn't exist, so it doesn't matter how long or short it takes, quote unquote. And we know that we'll always be learning and growing, and that's so exciting.
It's my understanding that egos actually drive our ambitions and possibly our desires. But from what you have said, you don't have those. I mean, you don't have that conditions. You don't go after those. So does that mean you have no egos?
Pretty much. Or should I say, because I, here, speaking with you, there's a certain amount of ego involved, but it's not the same as human ego. It's not a physical, well, ego isn't physical anyway, but, oh, how should I put it? The ego, our egos, when we condense into a particular being.
As you have with Sarah now?
Right.
Okay.
No, I lost my train of thought. How I'm going to explain this. Those egos are more, they're more because we condense in order to communicate. And they're just happy to be doing what they're doing. And knowing that pretty soon they'll be doing something else. And they too are all constantly learning and growing because they're part of us.
You talk about the ego again?
Yeah.
Okay. Because by the way you initially were talking, I thought maybe ego was just a nature of the physical form.
Well, it has a lot to do with that. Excuse me. But it has to exist in entities, in specific beings, or those beings would not be aware. It has some iota of necessity for understanding as even a being in other realms, or in this, what did you call it one time? The etheric realm, or whatever. It contributes to self-awareness, even amongst all of us.
Oh, you just opened my eyes and expanded my definition of ego.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have to think about that for a while.
Yep.
Because that was very enlightening. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next question. How many times has Sarah lived in a 3D world?
Oh.
I know maybe something you don't want to talk about, but
Well,
I don't want locations or anything right now, just
okay.
a vague number.
A vague number. I'm thinking 3 or 4. And that's what I'm picking up right now.
Were they all on Earth?
3 of them were.
Cool.
Not sure where the other one was, but there was a physical existence kind of hiding. Well,
Cool.
actually, it's hiding over here. But
Was she ever incarnated into a 2D world?
no.
Okay, what about a 4D world?
Quite probably.
Okay. Cool.
I'm distracting myself by thinking that what difference does it make?
It doesn't make any difference. I'm just curious, like I say all the time.
Yeah, you do say that.
How about, can you see that about me too?
Although I'm seeing about 6 times, most of which were here on Earth
Okay.
for you. Huh. She just is arguing with me. She thought she was an old soul.
I'm not old.
Times the number of times that you
Come to Earth.
reincarnate, as you say, or take on physical form in a 3D or whatever environment has nothing to do with how old your soul is.
From session 9.
Does either my brother know the other is right there?
I believe they. I believe that was part of the group that welcomed.
Cool.
So yes, they're aware. They're also aware that they're both on different paths, so to speak, even there. And if they happen to cross paths, they wave,
Okay.
go about their business.
What about my dad?
He has observed them from afar. He's at a place where he's not going to run up to them and embrace them. That may come later, which actually isn't later. It's the same time. But yeah, he's holding off. Not all beings who have passed physically, no matter when that may have been, feel the need to reconnect at that immediate moment. It might happen at another time or in another area that they're exploring. But it isn't as important to them as it is to the physical beings here on Earth to have those connections.
Okay. Does my brother know of his family, his children, and his grandchildren that he's up? Can he sense some of them up there?
If he so desires, he can
Okay.
peek in on them, so to speak.
And they're all glad he's in no more pain.
Oh, yes. Yeah, he's dancing a jig.
From session 11.
What do you folks teach others up there?
Whatever they want to know. That's the short, sweet answer.
Yes, and I have here some details, please.
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask that. But it depends. Sometimes we have to teach right from the beginning. When someone, their physical existence passes away and they're in the afterlife or whatever, spirit world, and they need to gradually be drawn into the truth of what reality is and what this person can experience when he or she is more aware of true reality. And of course, then they get all excited and they want to go here and they want to learn that and blah, blah, blah. Well, so we accommodate. We let them know. If they want to take a little peep into their survivors on Earth and make sure everybody's fine, yeah, we can do it. Sometimes we have to haul them back. No, not against their will. It's more of a reminder there's so much more. And then as they get more into it, then we can show them the other reality possibilities and probabilities. And then they start asking questions about that. So we teach them, do you want to have a physical existence over here to experience that for yourself? Sometimes they jump up and down, yeah, and other times they're like, oh, not for a while yet. We teach people what they want to know, basically.
Very good.
Okay.
How do the energies in your world, in your realm, remember things? Like the past lives they have lived, for example.
Because everything happens at once.
I knew that answer, and it didn't occur to me.
Because there's no time, no linear time. So everything happens at once. All you have to do is pick and choose what you're going to watch or listen to or see or remember or whatever.
Okay, this concept is still confusing to me.
That is one of the things that we have to, that we don't have to, but that we impart to those who have passed on and are learning in the spirit world, ether world, afterlife, whatever you want to call it.
From session 16.
We also talked about in the past of those crossing over from a 3D world to your world. What is the biggest issue that those who've crossed over have at first?
It depends.
I know you'd say that, but then I guess list some of them.
If they are ready, then they're excited and raring to go, so to speak. Most of them don't have issues if they have any sort of concept of the eternity of their soul, their essence, their true selves. They accept it and are eager to learn what's next, to do what's next, to experience, to learn and grow and continue. They just get excited.
Like a kid in a candy store.
Pretty much. They don't know where to begin. And that's why there are entities who guide, who are there to welcome them and guide them. And some of them take the form of, but some of them are as relatives and friends who might have passed on prior to this, these beings.
You mean some of the guides?
Yeah, some of those who welcome them. It's fluid, it can fluctuate. However, the essence of the being who has passed on, that essence will still recognize certain of the beings as someone that they know, usually relatives or close friends. And then they learn that it wasn't necessary for them to be relatives or friends or someone they depended on, although they usually are somehow not the exact energies of those relative essences, but don't want to use the word splinters, but they will...
A section of them.
Yeah, it's as if the essence of another being sends a finger over to the one who just passed on. And that finger is recognizable to the one who just passed through, came to this. And then whenever it is, this finger is finished, it can go back where it was, go somewhere else. Energies are fluid. Remember, everything is now. So when someone recognizes an energy as being a specific essence, they will do that as long as they feel the need. And when that need is gone, which is now, then that one's gone. It's a beautiful flowing dance. And that's not to say that there's any trickery involved or that relatives aren't around to meet an essence when it comes back home. It's what is, shall we say, desired by all essences involved. Some of them do have issues, and I think you already know what they might be. Depends on the physical being's expectations and beliefs and fears. Of course, there's no need to fear, but there are those in physical existence who fear it because they, number one, have no clue, because they have no faith in themselves, no faith in anyone else or anything else. They don't have any imagination. And they're afraid of their own actions, how they spent their life. Even some of the ones who don't have anything like that to fear, they still do. They wonder about the smallest little minuscule thing that they might have thought or done or not done, or, And then they find out, oh, it's not like that at all. Am I making any sense?
Yes.
Okay.
From session 20.
How can a ghost manipulate physical things like moving things around?
I believe I just answered that one
Yeah, you did,
a
but
couple of questions ago.
you answered something similar.
Because they draw energy from wherever they can, and then they can use that energy to achieve what they're trying to achieve.
Yes, that's what I thought you would say.
Most of the time, they can't achieve very much.
These next two really are weird. I will put them together. Do ghosts experience a life review? And do ghosts have belief systems?
That's just bizarre. When the body ceases to function, their spirit goes into the spirit realm and experiences the life review, as you mentioned. However, if a piece of them, which is every bit as conscious as the whole of them, decides to stay, they don't do the life review, and they hang on to their belief systems that they...
Okay, you're talking about ghosts.
I don't know when you turned.
Piece of it does not go through the life review and
Hangs on to the
the
belief
belief
systems
Yes, that's where you were.
that it had when physical. However, that would be what ghost hunters call an intelligent ghost. There's intelligence behind. They're the ones that will try to respond somehow, either vocally or making a noise or whatever, to what the I hate to call them hunters, but the seekers are. They're responding directly in some way to the seeker and the seeker's question. Most ghosts, though, are more. They're not. Okay. These. Okay. If I understand what you mean by ghost, that is something, whether it's a mist, a form, a black mass, or something that you can see with your own eyes, with your physical eyes.
Yes.
That usually is not sentient. It's usually residual. And it fades. Or it just does its thing back and forth whenever. And sometimes it can be seen, sometimes not. Depending on how much energy it can build up. But they're not thinking about that. The ones that are intelligent and there's a piece left for whatever reason, those are the ones that will try to intelligently respond. The best thing to do is to tell them to go home. Go on. Not necessarily to the light, quote unquote, because they don't all see a light at the end of the tunnel kind of a thing. But tell them to go home, to rejoin their soul family. And eventually they will. They'll get tired of hanging out. But there are always a few that in certain, I'm thinking now of some memories she's giving me. There are certain locations that ghost hunters love to go to because there's always activity. There's always those few who like to scare the bejesus out of those. So they hang around, wait for the next group to come in, and then they say and do things, and it scares everybody to death. And they get a kick out of it. Even though they act like they're mean and hateful, that's because they were in physical life.
Yeah.
But now they get bored, they got to do something. So if you tell them, okay, hi, glad to meet you. Now, go back to your spiritual family. They're waiting for you. And in most cases, these particular beings will be, I didn't know that. It's all new to them. And they didn't bother trying to find out before they decided to become hauntings. Okay, I'm blathering on, but does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. In fact, it answers the next 3 or 4 questions.
I know people are fascinated. You human beings are fascinated, and you're not alone in this. And in the concept of ghosts and hauntings. So if I can answer any more questions, I'll do my best.
Do spirits of animals send messages to us?
Not specifically, not through thinking, but the animal spirits are part of a soul family. They might try to send a message through that oversoul trying to reach their past caretaker, or whatever you want to call, not an owner, because
No, there are no owners.
But they, as I said, they're not usually aware if they leave a residual
Presence.
presence will do. Even that doesn't last for very long,
No.
really. Or they might just show up once in a while and then disappear again, you know. But it's not that an animal is trying to send a message. Sometimes there are just those parts of a soul family that are more apt to be pets, have been pets, will be pets. And they just want a little bit more experience, and they flit through a house or something, and then they're gone. It's not the same intentions that yes, they are more residual, but if they actually choose to flit through someone's house because they get a good feeling when they're there, you guys get a lot of that. You did in
Yeah.
the house, and you do in each place you live.
Yeah. I see Spencer visiting me quite often. Not see him, I feel him walking across the bed.
It may not be Spencer.
Well, I know it's not Aisha.
No, it's not Haisha. Haisha is still physical.
Yeah. But I feel some type of creature jumping up on the bed and walking across and curling up and
Yes.
cleaning
and
itself, so I know it's a cat.
there are cats who know that this is a very welcoming place, and sometimes they just want to play. You know,
Okay.
and they just flit in and then flit out again. But it's not as sentient. I hesitate to even call it a haunting, because
Yeah, it's not.
it's not a haunting, but
Haunting has a negative connotation.
a visitation, yes. All right.
Whenever we pass on out of this physical world, do all our other physical existences die too? I think
Not necessarily.
Okay, that's the answer I expected.
You mean in different dimensions or planes or whatever?
Well, different timelines,
Ah.
because everything is now.
Because you've explained that to me, I'm still struggling with grasping that.
Yeah, it's
I see.
difficult.
But now I understand your question and then the answer. I was
Yeah.
lost there. It's okay.
I think I know the answer to this next one. How does a soul choose which next parallel reality to experience?
I suppose you could say through observation, first of all, and then make the choice based on what they have learned that they have already learned in other existences, and what they have learned in non-corporeal existences. That all happen at once. Yes. They take in all the bits and pieces.